Hello again. This is Charles Greenwald doing another iteration of Giving Voice to Values. I'm doing case 7-2 about Solutions Network. And this involves Sarah Young, a CPA and controller for the company, which is a fast-growing, publicly owned company based out of California. And she's currently at odds with the CFO, Paul, over a revenue recognition transaction. And some background into this transaction. Solution Network sold software to company DSS at the end of 2015, December, with a side agreement that 30 days later they would buy software from DSS, but this would occur in 2016. If this transaction would add $15 million to the revenue and $1 million to profits, which would show investors that the company actually grew by $500,000 with their income in 2015. Without, though, it would show a decline over prior year. Now, if the company reaches its goals, Paul, Sarah, and Ed, the CEO, all stand to bonus. Now, Sarah insists that this revenue should not be recognized in 2015, but rather 2016, when the rest of the agreement can be fulfilled. Paul isn't happy that Sarah is fighting him on this and actually threatens her that she should leave the company. But Sarah decides to push the meeting off, so I guess they could both cool off a bit. And she confides in a friend who reminds her, or tells her to remind Paul about his ethical obligations as a CPA. Ultimately, Sarah's torn with going along to get along and making sure revenue recognition is accurate. Now, let's get into the questions here. What are the main arguments Sarah is trying to counter? That is, what are the reasons and rationalizations she needs to address in deciding how to handle the meeting with Paul? Solutions Network is labeled as a fast-growing tech company, and tech, as we all know, is a very competitive field, so this means a lot to the company. There's also pressure from investors to show growth, and obviously, as I stated earlier, bonuses and possibly recognition are on the line for those at the top. The question 2, what is at stake for the key parties in the case? What is Sarah's ethical obligation to them? I guess some things that are at stake, like I said earlier, bonuses, recognition, for those in a position to receive them with Solutions Network. Investors, they've purchased shares in the company. The company's a public company. So they got a stake or key party. And other potential users of Solution Network's financial statements are also key party, and they have a stake in this. Now Sarah has an ethical obligation to report the economic activity that occurs at the company. Many users of the company's financial statements rely on this data to make decisions, and she has an obligation to report as fair and accurate as possible. So investors and others can use this information to make the right decision based on fact. Now, question 3: should Sarah follow her friend's advice? What if she does and Paul does not back off? What additional levers can she use to influence Paul to make her values understood? Now, Paul came at her pretty hard in their initial meeting about the revenue recognition issue. Sarah I feel like she made the right call, taking the weekend to mull it over so they can both calm down a little bit. Things are getting heated. I think reminding him of his obligations as a CPA could have a positive effect. If Paul does not back off, though, she may need to take the matter to Ed, the CEO. Although Paul does claim that this is a top-down decision made from possibly the board and Ed himself, but maybe it's just Paul who's just saying this so he can bonus or whatever the case may be. But if all this doesn't work, it would be useful to contact the SEC over the matter. And these can be powerful levers to convince Paul to be more rational concerning this revenue recognition. Now, question 4, what is the most powerful and persuasive response to the reasons, rationalization Sarah needs to address? To whom should the argument be made, and when and where in the context? Now, although most accountants aren't fiduciaries, the AICPA Code of Conduct definition is pretty close, though. Recognition revenue in the incorrect period, so the numbers would look good for the year, is a slippery slope to fraud. There are countless cases where employers take a short-sighted approach for the sake of bonuses or meeting short-term goals. This typically doesn't bode well for those involved, and Sarah should bring this up to Paul in their next meeting. Now, that's it for my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a good evening.